offering the same transmission on a whole host and range of topics. For today's talk, we have Alicia. Alicia Price is an 18-year erotic practitioner, teacher, and guide. She began her journey in 2006 after living in an ashram in India, where she realized she wanted to include her sexuality. For today's talk, we have Alicia. Sorry, I had a little technical glitch there. Welcome everyone joining. Alicia began her journey in 2006 after living in an ashram in India, where she realized she wanted to include her sexuality in her spiritual path. She is one of the core teachers on the platform and is known for her clear insight and ability to create a space where people can feel fully themselves. So without further ado, I give you Alicia.
There we go. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Yay, I'm getting on. Hi, guys. I'm taking a look at everyone who's in here. Hi, Iris. Hi, Patrice. Bill, it's good to see you. I'm happy to be here with you all. Yes, I have a fair amount of experience with the practice and teaching the material, and my intention and my heart is to be here today as a member of the community and one of many people that share the deep feelings of care and love for the practice, for everything that we're doing and building, and for Nicole and Rachel in the current legal situation. And so that's where I figured it would be a good place to start. And then my desire is to share a few thoughts and feelings about the legal situation, and then have it be that we work our way into some conversation about the material and the practice and why we're doing what we're doing. Rachel, thank you so much for introducing me. I appreciate you so much. And it's kind of, it's perfect the way you started by sharing a little bit about my story, because I often think about how it is we all got here, you know, how I got here, how each of one of us found our way here to this work. And we call it the fact that on some level, we all heard the call to dedicate some time, attention, varying levels to work that includes our sexuality. And you know, as someone who's taught a lot of classes, and not everybody who's watching right now knows me. Some of you do, some of you don't, but I have taught a whole lot of OM classes and other classes in our material. And there's sort of a running, you know, meme or a running joke or just a running sentiment when people say, oh, Alicia, she taught my first class. Oh yeah, she taught my first class. And so that's sort of a thing that warms my heart every single time I hear somebody say it. And it is true. I have taught a lot of intro classes, a lot of different classes. And that means I've told my story a whole lot of times as well. And there was a moment where I was on my own path, wanting to be, you know, the best version of myself. We all use different words to describe, you know, feeling in purpose, feeling fully expressed, feeling empowered, feeling like I'm experiencing, you know, a flourishing state of existence. Maybe you want to make a difference in the world. And like all of you, I had that moment where I was like, oh, you know, in order to do that and be that, I must include my sexuality. It's not something that I can leave behind. And, you know, I was about 20 years ago now, I was, you know, heavily, you know, focusing on spiritual endeavors, meditation, yoga, things like that. And I had a very clear moment where it really rang in my being like a gong, where I thought, I cannot leave my sexuality behind if I want to be a truly powerful, fully awakened woman on the planet today. That a path of celibacy, or even a path where I am not willing to get in and investigate and know it and incorporate it and work with it, just won't get me where I want to go. And hit me like a ton of bricks. I was in India at the time. I left India 4 days later. Very soon after that, I moved to San Francisco, and some good friends of mine were like, you should check out One Taste. It's everything you talk about. And that was about 20 years ago. And it was true. And thinking about this particular talk, I was also remembering very vividly one of those first classes I taught a very long time ago. And when the first times that I told that story, Nicole was sitting in on the class, and basically to see how I would do, to offer support, and then to see how I would do. And I remember I vividly, like it was yesterday, I told my story about why I wanted to do work in sexuality and why the own practice was meaningful to me. And she just looked at me and she said, good, got up, walked out of the room, went about, did something else that needed to be done. And that was like the start of my teaching, where I was like, okay, good to go, let's do it. And then I also was thinking about like, wow, it's wild. Like, I don't see how I can tell my story now without somehow weaving in the fact that I didn't know 20 years ago that part of this path would include, sitting in a courtroom watching Nicole and Rachel being completely, their life's work and all of the good that they do be completely misrepresented and completely hammered by the federal justice system. And I had no idea that we would be taken into this kind of location. And like most people on this call, I think I have a tremendous amount of feeling about it. And, over the last couple of weeks since the conviction and since Nicole and Rachel were remanded, which is just ridiculous that it's gone this way. We've all had different levels of digestion. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of you here on this call. So I know personally some of the different ways in which we've been getting through layers of feeling. And I'm just moving through this spot, thank God, where every time my attention would land on Nick and Rach, I would get this like kind of queasy feeling in my stomach. It was just, this is like, ooh. And it's, I know that they're doing great. I know that they are free wherever they are. I'm not worried about them per se. For sure, I would like them to not be incarcerated. But I think that queasy, upset stomach feeling that I've been feeling is the fact that this is just so wrong. It's that kind of like, whoa, this is not right. And Aubrey spoke 2 days ago, and she has been doing a tremendous job with her social media videos that she makes. And she's been doing some interviews with some of the different people that, had planned to speak on the defense on behalf of, our story and our case. And I'm one of those people. And I had an experience like quite a few people had, where the FBI showed up on my door and, I won't go into too much detail, but the gist of it is that they basically out of the gate were like, we consider you an important victim witness. This was several years ago before the indictment happened. And I said, I do not consider myself a witness. And they did not care. That was not important to them at all. And as I spoke to them for a few minutes that night, I felt a tremendous fear that I can't even describe. And I thought, God, they're going to create whatever kind of narrative they want to. They're going to cut and paste anything that anybody says to them, and they're going to turn it into exactly what they want it to sound like. And it has nothing to do with the experience that I had at One Taste. It has nothing to do with the experience and what we all created together. I said, I don't want to participate. Do I have a choice? And they said, no, you do not. And that is not true. That was not true. And a year and a half later, since that first day that they contacted me, and again, this was still prior to any indictment of Nicole and Rachel or anybody, feeling a tremendous amount of upset and fear and like, am I going to be, seen as a criminal here? If I don't cooperate, are they going to find some charge to, it was the pressure and the mystique of that the FBI kind of projects is extreme. And a year and a half later, finally, after, a lot of discomfort, hiring an attorney who was not representing me, but actually managing me towards the FBI, firing him, doing all this stuff. I actually wrote the FBI a letter, an email, which they said, don't put anything in email. And now I know why. And I told them off. And I'll tell you that moment right before I decided to fire my attorney and really exercise the FBI and be like, you're not welcome to be in my life anymore. I really thought to myself, I do not know if this is the right thing to do. If I fire my lawyer, I won't have a lawyer. If, they could come down on me, they could circle around, and I don't even know. It was the pressure and uncertainty was extreme. Nonetheless, I sent them an email and I said, you can't possibly consider me a victim. You wouldn't be treating me this way. Every step of the way, you have taken what I've said and you've turned it around and said, there, dear. You're so traumatized because of your experience at One Taste. And I said that, gaslighting gets really thrown around these days, as a term, but that's some genuine first-class gaslighting right there, what the feds did to me. And I'm saying this firsthand. I'm saying this not because I feel like making up some grand story, but because it's exactly what was done to me. And it's what happened to other people. And I think it was the stance and the approach that they took with everyone in relation to our case and our trial. And I think it's a standard method that they use to manufacture victims all over the place. And I would be remiss if I was not willing to continue to state that again and again. Our community is one of the richest, most real, most potent environments I have ever had the pleasure of being part of. And thinking back to the days when we lived in the warehouse, when we lived in 1080, when we were creating the coaching program, when we were all doing research and development together, I think back very vividly. And, I was saying to somebody recently in a conversation, someone online, I said, there are people from back in those days, even today, there are people that only trusted Rachel. There are people that only wanted to talk to Rachel when they had something coming up. There are people that only wanted to sign up with a class with Rachel because of the quality of depth and connection, being seen, being understood that she had with hundreds and hundreds of people. There are plenty of people that did not like me at all. People that couldn't stand me, for lack of a better word, that I totally triggered. They didn't want anything to do with me, right? So it's like there's just been a way that the amount that we all have cared and put into, Rachel, Yia, Nicole, Joanna, all of us, and everyone now, but everyone back then, we put so much heart and care into holding and being pillars of the community, and to have it reduced and totally, this terrible fabricated, sort of narrative that there was a scheme the whole time for two women to have a racket to bilk people out of money is just, it turns my stomach. It turns my stomach, Iris. I see you shaking your head. That's how I feel. It's terrible. It's brutal. And we've talked a lot about the fact that there are bigger implications here. Yes, it has immediate impact on Nicole and Rachel and those that love her and the business that they have co-created and created. For sure, there's an immediate impact there. And there are bigger ramifications that this has, is not only a precedent in the context of, legal ramifications, and that, the feds can continue at this point to move forward their agenda of shutting down free thinkers, or those who are bringing feminine ideas that aren't about top-down power, but are about a collective shared power. They can continue to kind of hammer people. And, Aubrey articulates this beautifully often. And there's one, I'm thinking of one particular Instagram that she created a while back that just beautifully broke down the assault on the feminine and on female power and on women. And that it's something that we've been contending with for a very, very long time. And I can tell you, because some people are like, get it. How is it that, how is it that this is a war on women or a war on the feminine? Well, I'll say the day after the remanding, when all of us were like, okay, let's own. Oh, the weight and the discomfort that we had to get up and start to alchemize that morning when we all got into our practice together. Good Lord, that's the baseline referent. As always, Om is the baseline referent to which we can see ourselves and our connection and where we're at. I'll tell you, it was like, oh God, okay, let's get to it. We have been for a long time now working with social structures, structures of governance, not only in America, but all over the world, that have a very rigid, masculine, patriarchal focus to them, and they're very top down. And everything that we're doing and everything that we're creating is the opposite of that. And it seeks to arise out of feminine truth. And we do that not just conceptually, but we do that with a felt network where we all agree to feel each other. We all agree to admit that women hold the power. And when we are in felt connection together, we can create tremendous things. And, back in the day when I was in India, thinking about becoming a nun and devoting my life to service, I definitely wanted to have an impact in the world. And, at some point, and I believe this today, one can only do that. Most people can only do that to a certain degree if they're sitting in isolation. Most people, I think, me included, I'm not meant to sit alone meditating somewhere. I'm meant to be in connection to other beings. And I mean, think about it, like my dreams of I want to make a difference in the world. Even just that statement implies being in the world and being connected. It doesn't imply isolation. And I think a lot of, for myself included, spiritual kind of lofty ideas about what being awake or enlightened is abstract and is a little bit removed. And I can think about it for a long time. But when do I come down off the mountain and start actually, taking action and making it a reality in the world that's in front of me? And that's a big part in my mind, what Eros is about. That we find full liberation, not just in the lofty ideas of the rarefied, the spiritual, but by coming down, walking down off the mountain and, at the level of self, being in all of the messy, ugly, unpleasant parts of myself, really getting to know all those parts of myself, bringing them out so that I can see that there's gold in all of it, and that I can bring it out and be felt more deeply and know myself more deeply, or at the level of the immediate network of people that I relate to. And then as it spreads out more and more, we get into the challenging stuff. We don't avoid it. That's part of the path of Eros. And I want to read just a brief excerpt from one of the Sutras, one of the Sutra books. This is from volume 5, which is not released yet, but it'll be coming out soon. It's volume 5, Liberation. And this is Sutra 340. It's the axis of liberation. The access point just happens to be the body and its vulnerabilities, failings and cravings, lust and hunger, in union with the mind and its stream of ideas, also with its capacity to ground and integrate the experiences of the sublime, and to translate those experiences through the felt sense of intuition. Absent the rootedness of the body, the subtle energies of spirituality would dissipate away and lose their potency. Only when these energies are anchored into the body can they be converted into fuel for our life, not despite, but through the solidity and friction of matter. We find true and unconditional liberation. A great secret which runs through the heart of erotic alchemy exists. Where one might see a prison, in Eros we see a monastery. Where the solely spiritual sees the chains of bondage, the erotic sees an instrument of liberation. And that is from volume 5 of the Sutras. And I get choked up because, I think back through the years, I think back to the warehouse days, I think about, there's so many stories I want to tell about the warehouse, first of all, but we used to, we had our bathroom in the warehouse. There were sinks, there were a couple of sinks where you brush your teeth and do your morning stuff. And then there were 2 toilets right next to each other. And there was no curtain or anything. And so you'd go to the bathroom next to another person. And I understand that that is something that a lot of people might not want to do or might not be able to comprehend, that might be something that was like a valuable part of our experience. I get it. It's well out of the norm. The norm is kind of boring. We're all in our little apartments by ourselves. You only get so much, you only get so much juice out of that after a while. But I'm telling you that I had a realization after living and moving into the warehouse where, I got a level of freedom from self-consciousness that felt and I experienced as genuine liberation. And I had read the books. You read the books about the ancient Indian sages and how they would walk around naked or, with different things that they were doing, and they were free. And I remember being in the warehouse and thinking, like, I feel free. I'm having that experience that I had read about in books. And at some point, you can read books, but then you dive into actual experience. And that's a big facet of what we were all doing together. And it pains me, and I will not let the memory of the experience that we all had in the warehouse be diminished and distorted, and the beauty and the potency and the real value of it be canceled and taken away. I will not let that happen. It's not right. We all created these things together. At the very first part, the preface of volume 1 of the Sutras called Practice, Nicole writes that it took her 20 years to write the Sutras. She says, well, it actually took me, I think it was 6 months, but it took me 20 years of living the material and getting myself ready to write the books. What I want to say about the Sutras is that anyone here who's read any of them, they're so rich with wisdom. The editor of the first book believes that the Sutras are a terma, meaning it's ancient secret teachings that have made their way back into the world and back into manifestation. And I believe that. I get tingles thinking about that, because I've read them and I know the places in consciousness that open up in my mind when I start to read them. And I know the kind of clarity that, many people, even on this call, have said, sometimes when Nicole is talking, I think, God, that's exactly how I see things. I haven't quite been able to articulate it. And I too have had that experience many times. And Nicole is a visionary, and she holds a certain amount of determination and drive and magnetism. And I think I can't state, anything I say will be understated for the appreciation I have for her having written the Sutras. And I can't stand the thought of anyone thinking like, oh, she just made that up to XYZ. It's like you're missing the point entirely. She's revealing the truths, the things, the unspoken truths that resonate, that we say, oh gosh, I needed it to be said that way. And she wrote them based on her 20 plus years of direct experience and engagement with the feminine, with the practice, and with all of the people that were willing to be in community with her. We get these things through direct experience. At some point, when we want to touch connection, when we want to touch flow states, when we want to touch deep erotic states, mystical states, we have to realize we can't just do them alone. That's not the point at all. And the feminine way is the acknowledging and rebuilding of a feminine network, and we call it the Mycelium network. You can think of it like the network of a forest of trees. They've got their own roots, and they go down into the ground, and all of the roots touch and communicate with each other. And there's a shared intelligence, and it's truly a network. And there may be, bigger trees that hold a more central location. And the power of it comes in all of the connections, all of the felt connections in the network. That's why we say that this is, the feminine approach. It's not the pyramid style where there's like one powerful entity on top, and then you have, those that are, taking the orders of the one powerful top, and then you have the other, and then it's bigger, and then you have the general population. It's not pyramid style. It's not the pyramid with the eye on the $1 bill. It's not what it is. It's a network. It's a felt network where the women are the primary nodes, and all of the men are the circuitry of it as well. And this is exactly what Nicole was talking about for a couple of months, when she was talking about consort relationship, having a consort, seeing a consort as a conduit, and all of the different interactions. We take the own practice for ourselves, and then we spread it out into like, okay, how do we interact as a felt network in all these different dynamic ways? So that's what we're doing. And I'll finish by saying, and this apparently is a controversial statement. I don't believe that I can fully do this and be this without the Om practice. Right. So that's me. And I know there are other valid practices in the world. And for anyone who's not currently Oming, this is not meant to, shame you or have you feel bad. Right. But me Oming on a regular basis, sorry, Iris, I know, me Oming on a regular basis drops me out of the tumescent mind. And I think most people here know what the tumescent mind is, and drops me down into my genitals and the wisdom of my body. And it's a baseline physical referent for that passage that I read from the Liberation Sutras, that we must have that bridge built between the mind and the body. And I got news for you: a woman's power and felt intuition, this is my experience, this is what I genuinely believe, is rooted in the felt open, sort of radiance. You can call it emanation, you can use whatever word you want, but it's in the genitals, and it's not in spite of them, but it's rooted in them. And then it's from that sunken in place that I can genuinely feel the other woman in the network. It's a felt experience. It's not something that we just think about. And Om brings me down into it. And here's another thing that I'll say about Om. And this is what I mean, where it's a controversial statement to say, like, hey, the path of Eros doesn't have to include Om, but I think it's great if it does. Om is a practice. Nicole created and fine-tuned Om to be exactly what it is, with the time parameters and every aspect of it, so that we could do it on a regular basis and relax. And it works. And, we've said this a million times before. It's not foreplay. It's not making out. It's not some kind of, shared masturbation. It's none of those things. It's a woman dropping out of her tumescent mind and dropping into her genitals and allowing the wisdom of her genitals to become stronger and louder, so that both people are able to hear it and be with it greater and greater. And it's a practice. And I've Om'd quite a lot at this point over the years. Many, many times I've done the practice. And there have been many times where I've been like, okay, I guess I should go Om right now. I think, God, I don't want to. I don't want to Om today. And I've said that, I say that pretty much every time I go to the gym. Pretty much every time I go do yoga, I'm like, oh, I totally don't want to do yoga right now. But I know my body will thank me after. So this is the controversial piece. There has been many times where I thought, oh, I totally don't want to Om right now. And there's not been one Om in all the years that I've practiced where I have not got up after the 15 minutes and said, thank God. I'm so glad I did that. I feel smoother. I feel detumesced. I feel more sane. I feel more connected. Something that was irritating me is not as irritating. There's not one time that I've Om'd that I wish I hadn't. And the underpinning of the argument that the federal government has made is that somehow us accessing our sexual energy is dangerous and is not something that I can consciously, knowingly engage with and consentingly open on a regular basis. That's the underpinning of everything that they're saying. And that is not true. If you take away the villainizing of sexual energy, then there is no case. They would have nothing to say. Everything in their case comes down to the fact that they're saying that this is wrong. Kevin said it yesterday. He's like, they attack the practice all the way through with all their slick, dry, boring language. So controversially, I'm going to say, I will continue to do the practice. I encourage people to do the practice. I encourage people to get back into the practice. I encourage people to approach it like a practice where you decide you want to gain some larger benefit and you stick with it in moments when there's inertia or feelings or whatever, and that there's nothing wrong with doing that, and that the government is not allowed to take that from us. I'm going to close by reading one more short excerpt from Sutra. It's from volume 3. It's from volume 3, which is Orgasmic Meditation. And it's the first sutra, our relationship to practice. And to endeavor in practice is to shift from a state of being as an isolated, closed system, recycling habituated patterns of thought and action into one based in a relationship between self and the mystery. Put simply, practice is the vehicle through which we convert tumescence into Eros. Within the walls of practice, the vital energies of the unknown can make contact with the default survival patterns that are passively grooved into us. Beneath these patterns lie the untapped potential of our humanity. To shift oneself into living as a dynamic relationship rather than a static reality is no small matter. To do so is to work as a sculptor, carving away what is not us so that who we truly are is revealed and ultimately liberated from the confines of static identity. So I will continue to Om. I'll continue to use it as like a foundational referent of practice, which informs everything I do and how I feel and, relate and have felt connection with all of you and with everyone that I come across in the world. That's one way that we continue to honor Eros and everything that we're doing here. And I guess I'll end there for today. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Such a beautiful, powerful transmission of who we are and the practice of Om. Thank you so much. We have some time for some questions now. If anybody has a question, you can just raise your virtual hand and I will call on you. If anyone is joining us online, streaming in, just pop it in the whatever platform you're in, pop it in the comment section, and we will ask the questions to Alicia. Hannah.
Hi.
Hi. I don't know if it's a fully formed question, but there was like every different piece that you brought in there. And I kept thinking about when you were comparing it to the yoga practice, this part that in the Bhagavad Gita that I've always loved that says, like, you're not entitled to the fruits of your labor, you're entitled to your labor. And I hadn't quite thought of it until you were speaking about the yoga element of it today. And I was like, the level to which Nicole and Rachel are embodying that presently is just so, it's like so far beyond what I could have ever imagined, as far as like the joy that they're finding where they are and the way that they're continuing to practice where they are. And yeah, it just it really moved me, and everything you shared just really, really moved me. And I'm so with you on at a certain point, it's like there is not a substitute for actually doing the practice.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
You reminded me of something else that, part of kind of admitting that you're in a flourishing state is naturally starting to pour out into other people. I know this is something that's big in our community, and there's a lot of awareness of it. And that's why we have the different arms of the nonprofits and all of that. And it's like, You know, it seems to me by some of the things I've seen online, and people have really never understood about One Taste and about our community, what it is now and what it's always been. It's never been about just finding pleasure. It's never been about a joyride of just, you know, getting your rocks off, or it's never been like, like a swingers party. It's never been hedonistic. The root of it's never been hedonistic. It's always been about eudaimonia, meaning that, you know, to have a flourishing system, we all stand up as erotic adults and do what we need to do to be fully functioning parts of a system. And we're all pouring out and contributing. And there's something greater. We want flourishing for self and for everything. It's never been about hedonism, ever. So nobody gets to say that anymore, as I said so.
Damn straight. Thank you, Hannah. Patrice.
Hi, Alicia. I appreciate this so much. You took me back to re-experience, you know, the 10 or 12 years that I've, you know, I don't know, it feels like I was in kindergarten, in One Taste kindergarten, because it was learning and having the opportunity to learn things that were never offered all the way through school. And that's what really appealed to me as an adult. It was like, oh, finally, someone is offering an adult experience that I can choose. I've never seen this curriculum before. This is an amazing curriculum for experimenting in ways that either I was ashamed or too afraid to actually learn about myself. And with other people, learning about themselves and learning about people in relation to other people. So there's something about that that I want to be able to express in like a letter to the judge, because that's what is not available, or rarely available. And like your example of the toilet side by side. And it's just so funny, you know, you would never anticipate that that would be a lesson in the curriculum. And there are many experiences similar to that where, like having makeouts in a way that, you know, I never had the awareness during a makeout before the opportunity with One Taste. So, yeah, it really reminds me of my appreciation. And I have lately thought of saying it this way, that I am dripping with gratitude. So thank you.
Thanks, Patrice. Appreciate you a lot.
Beautiful. Thanks, Patrice. Let's go to Russell.
Russell.
Good morning or afternoon, as the case may be. The short phrase is like, it's not a way of checking out. It's not a way of taking. It's a way of showing up, of being present. And it's challenging, but it's fruitful. It's like, it's so much better than earning money.
Well, that part, that's where that part would be good too.
I know. It's like, what I should say is like intimacy is the currency that is like, makes a big difference to me.
Yes. Agreed. Thank you so much, Russell.
Thank you, Russell. We have a bit more time, so if anyone has another question, just
I
raise your hand.
have something I wanted to say, but I can't raise my hand because I'm driving. Can I talk?
Oh, Karen, yes, please, go ahead.
Hi, my beauties. I can't even really see you all, but I can hear your voices. So it's a reflection on the current state of Eros leadership. And what I really imagine and what inspires me and I don't know because I didn't even hear if this was covered, and I wasn't on the community call if it's already happened this week. But like, I imagine this level of service of Nicole and Rachel just continuing to serve, like serve where you are, if it's in the soup kitchen or if it's in the monastery or if it's in the prison, like they're getting really to serve in the prison. They're getting to make the monastery. And I find it so inspiring because I feel that transmission that wherever I am, I can serve. It's not about my circumstances or about being glamorous or about any of the things that sort of pull my eyes, but it's really about this grounded being in the world of acceptance and Eros. And I draw a lot of sustenance from my imagination of who they're being because I know who they are. And so I just extrapolate that and I take it like a hummingbird would stick its long beak into a flower and just drink from it. And it helps me to be who I am, who we are, the mycelial network, who we are for the world. It helps me to remember that this isn't a solo journey. This is a journey of connection with the feminine as the node points, which you said, Alicia. And it's just like tremendously inspiring to me that y'all are here, that you're leading this, that you've taken your learnings and you're pouring out now. And that's the opportunity of Eros, is to get full enough where we can literally give back and not be needy, but literally be a source for others. I just find it so inspiring. And it's not outside of me, although sometimes I tap into those role models because I find it comforting and empowering to do so, but that it's something that we all share. Sometimes the tank gets empty and we need to fill it up, but with the practice, with the community, with the network, we can literally be full. We can stay full and we can pour out. And that's what I wanted to say, that all of what has been said and been read inspired in me today.
Thank you so much, Karen. Yes. Like, that's exactly it. Like, I've always been a full woman, and the more I acknowledge it and live into it and pour out with generosity, honesty, all those different things, it's like, that's part of being the network. That's what we're doing for sure. That's what we're all doing. That's what Nick and Rach continue to do. And, what you said, Karen, made me think of, we've been having a lot of conversations about, like, of course, about the business and about the community and about the bigger ramifications of the situation. And, it's basically, catapulted us into a level of being a movement, and meaning like there really is this understanding that this is bigger even than just us, or, our business or our community. And so, like, just by showing up, spending your time, which is a resource online, like, you're contributing, you're part of, that's where I'm coming from. It's like, we're all part of this movement. If you want to contribute, be on the platform. If you want to contribute, share about, the case, write a letter, share about the practice, restart your practice, volunteer or donate to Unconditional Freedom, become a pen pal to someone incarcerated. Nancy runs an amazing program, setting up, pen pals for people. Like we're all in this together, and in any way you feel inspired to be part of it. A movement is just people moving together, under common, cause and common desire. And so, basically, like, let's do it. Let's continue. We keep going.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Karen. Okay, in our true tradition, we will take a few reflections for Alicia and for today's talks. If anything touched you or you'd like to share anything, just raise your hand. Come on and share your reflection. If anyone's streaming in and has something, enter it in the comment section of wherever you're streaming, and we will share them also. And we'll go to Iris.
The reflection I want to give is my appreciation of the leadership now picking up the mantle and running with it, because I was afraid it would go away. I don't want it to go away. There's a piece of me that was. Most of me wasn't, because I know this ball is already rolling. You know, when you try to roll the snowball down the hill, you better get out of his way, you know, because it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as it rolls, you know. And then if you try to catch it, it moves that way and this way, you know. So yeah, I was sure of that, but there's a piece of me, the little girl, of course. That says, see what happens when somebody tries to make the world better. You know, they want to knock it down, because this is a plan. We know this is a plan. That dollar bill got a lot of symbolism. You know? Got a lot of symbolism, you know, and it was part of the plan of what we're doing now, what we're going through now. And don't let me get on my conspiracy theory stuff, but anyway. I just love you guys, and I saw you when I was first coming in, you know, but you soon left. So all right, I had to say, who is this? Of course, after 10 or so years, um, you look different and you look more mature and all. I said, I know her, you know. But I was blessed enough to come in when Rachel and Nicole were given turn on. So yeah, this is gonna keep on going, and it's not gonna go away because they took them away, you know, away from us. Not only that, can you imagine the women coming out of prison? I know she's giving them a treat. I know it. You know, they both are giving them a treat. But you guys are giving us a treat. You know, though I've been given a treat by Rachel and Nicole, you guys are giving me a treat too. Because this is a way of, all right, it's not going to go away. Thank you. It's getting bigger instead.
Yeah, we're getting it.
You know, thank you. Rachel, you, all the wonderful women here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Iris. Beautiful. We'll go to Kara next.
Hello. I want to express gratitude. I just really loved how you talked about after the day they were reminded of how you went back to the practice in the morning and you used your hands and you're like, it was a deep exhale. And it was just this like big reminder throughout the day of like life where you keep going and you forget like your body, especially your genitals, hold so much energy and power. And it was just it was really beautiful. I've learned a lot through the Om practice. It's really changed my life. I found one taste at a really wonky time even, and had a lot of questions. But Rachel, love Rach, she answered all my questions with just such love and care, and really just took care of me and made sure I felt really supported and such. And yeah, I miss them a lot, and it's sad. It's sad.
Yeah, we all miss them. And they're here. They're here with us. And let's get them out. That's how I feel. But you know,
What's even more surreal is that I live in Brooklyn, and I live about a mile away from MDC, where they're being held right now. And I don't know, just being like a 15-minute walk from where they're living, to me, in some weird way, it's like very comforting. Like they're just around the corner. I can walk the way the MDC, the building is. It's next to the sidewalk. You can physically touch the jail. It's not behind barbed wires. And I did it the other day. I went over and I just touched the jail. You know, they didn't know I was there, but I knew that they felt us. I went after, women over dinner. And it was really beautiful and really powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cara. And then the last reflection is from Instagram. A lovely message from Bold in Crimson. I am new here and just dropped in. I really like what I am hearing and I'm interested in learning more to serve myself and pour all that out into others. Thank you, Bold in Crimson. Yeah. Thank you, Alicia. This was wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We will do another talk tomorrow at 1, and we will be talking about our beloved and incredible nonprofit, Unconditional Freedom. It's one of the greatest ways we're contributing and sharing Eros with the world.